First, I'm going to give the floor to Ambassador Anatolio Ndong MBA. Ambassador Anatolio was consultant with the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, serving as the agency's representative in Djibouti from November 2008 to February 2009. Between 2004 and 2008, he served as FAO representative in Angola and São Tomé and Príncipe, resident in Luanda, serving also as acting United Nations resident coordinator from March 2007 to July 2008, when he retired from the agency. From 2001 to 2004, Ambassador Ndong was Deputy Regional Representative of FAO for Africa, a representative in Ghana, having previously served as representative in Guinea-Bissau between 1997 and 2001. Ndong MBA's extensive ministerial experience include terms as Ministers of State for Fisheries and Forestry, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, and Equatorial Guinea's Governor at the International Monetary Fund, Minister of State for Planning and International Cooperation, and Equatorial Guinea Governor to the World Bank, and Minister for Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Forestry. Mr. Ndong MBA holds Bachelor's of Science in Agro-Livestock from Zagros University in Egypt, as well as Diploma in Animal Production and Rural Credit. So you can see Ambassador Ndong has the response for the grassroots, because he served in very critical areas where Africa really need to make a difference. So Ambassador Ndong, would you please give us the response?
I would sincerely like to express appreciation to the organizers, and especially to Mr. Mohamed Kilik, who is the Director of the Center of Global Affairs. Let me at the outset express my sincere thanks and appreciation on behalf of my government, our permanent mission, myself for inviting me to this very important event of Ambassador Series, African Solution, African Problems, as an honorary speaker. I'm going to concentrate a lot on the growing influence of Africa in the global stage. Africa is indeed the birthplace of humanity and the cradle of civilization. As such, Africa has had a significant impact on the development and evolution of mankind. Historically, long before the advent of colonialism, Africa had established astronomy, mathematics, and architectural science, as evidenced in the magnificent pyramids of Egypt. Additionally, during the pre-colonial era, the continent had well-established local economies, a judicial and social order based on various traditional chiefdoms and kingdoms. One example of this is the Asante Kingdom in Ghana. These African advancements have influenced other regions of the world with lasting impact. Africa's influence on the world can also be seen in culture, especially in terms of her art and music. Renowned European artists like Pablo Picasso painted in a style which was strongly influenced by African sculpture, now regarded as Picasso's African period. Africa's musical influence continued to be felt around the world, from American pop jazz to Cuban rumba. Africa's culture permeates the world. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, even during the colonial period, Africa's impact on Western Europe and the New World was undeniable. As the scramble for Africa by Western power intensified, much of Africa's wealth in terms of her raw materials was transferred from Africa to the West, and African skilled labor was later employed through the infamous transatlantic slave trade to work in the fields, as well as build infrastructure in the New World, such as roads and buildings. Against this introductory background, I will now focus on the post-colonial and contemporary Africa, her political and economic resurgence, and end with the new Africa paradigm. In recent years, many African nations celebrated an important milestone of 50 years of independence. At the same time, this milestone also marks a continent that has come of age and is determined to chart its own independent course. From a political perspective, Africa has made significant progress. There are more democratically elected governments and multi-party states today than any time since independence. Political pluralism has taken root in almost the entire continent and is strongly supported by the African Union. Governance has also improved, and there have been many successful reforms, and many more are on their way. In Equatorial Guinea, for example, His Excellency President Obiang Mambazo signed an officially promulgated fundamental law reform on February 16, 2012. This reform stipulates that Equatorial Guinea rests on the principle of Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the African Charter of the Human and People's Rights, also known as the Banjul Charter, with the goal of promoting and protecting human rights and basic freedom on the African continent. Furthermore, the law reform in Equatorial Guinea also requires equal rights and protection under the law, as well as gender equality. Several other African countries have either implemented or are implementing similar reforms that advance the rule of law and improve governance. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Union is growing in stature in the continent as it plays an even greater role in promoting regional peace and security. Internationally, African countries are also playing a greater role as international partners by contributing to the UN peacekeeping effort around the world. Africa's impact on the world economy and through its natural resources is ever present, whether in the form of fine jewelry manufactured from precious minerals mined in South Africa or Botswana, or oil drilled from Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, or Angola, or steel manufactured from iron or mines in Guinea and Sierra Leone, to detectable chocolate manufactured from cocoa beans grown in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, and coltan used in the manufacture of electronic devices we use in our daily lives, mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Africa remains an integral part of the world economy with a strong influence on the global commodity markets. Africa, by far the richest confinement in terms of endowment in natural resources. Its manufacturing base, however, remains a small fraction of her true potential. Botswana, the world's largest producer of diamonds, for example, has taken steps to have that country realize more economic benefits from its vast deposit of diamonds for her people by insisting that De Beers, a leading producer of uncut diamonds, moved the trading and sorting operation from London to Gaborone, the capital of Botswana. This relocation, which occurred in 2013, signals the transfers of about $6.5 billion a year business to the people of Botswana. It is also important to note that Africa's economic growth rate has been, and it is remarkable. According to the economists, 6 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies of past decade are in the sub-Saharan Africa, and many African countries have enjoyed growth in income per person more than 5% a year since 2007. Africa's rise on the global stage is palpable. The continent's emerging middle class with the increasing disposable income is slowly being recognized. According to the Ernst & Young's Attractiveness Survey Africa 2013, the size of the African economy has more than tripled since 2000. Moreover, a number of African economies are predicted to remain among the fastest growing in the world. To cite another source, McKinsey Global Institute analysis indicated that 4 sectors in Africa, namely consumer products and services, infrastructure, agriculture, and natural resources, will together be worth $2.6 trillion in annual revenue by 2020. As such, the continent's economic impact on the rest of the world is unmistakable. To sustain this growth trajectory, Many countries on the continent are embarking on policies of diversification and infrastructural development to attract investors and build solid foundation for development. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, participants, in my country, Equatorial Guinea, His Excellency President of the Republic set in motion Equatorial Guinea's long-term development plan Horizon 2020, which has instituted in 2007. This strategic plan aims to invest in important sectors which will turn strengthening economic growth, ensure transparent social climate, build important infrastructure to support a modern nation state, and improve social welfare and reduce poverty. $1 billion have been set aside to support this bold initiative. Another important goal of His Excellency President of Yangama Bazogo government is that of economic diversification, which will reduce our reliance on oil revenues by converting revenues from oil into large public work projects, a portfolio of agro-industry, fisheries projects, and tourism. Equatorial Guinea has experienced significant growth and infrastructure development over the past few years, and we continue to expand secondary and tertiary roads into rural areas, and also pipe-borne water supply and electricity into villages and rural areas. The same vein is health and education sectors have significantly developed. Equatorial Guinea exemplifies the growth trajectory of Africa. But while the government continues to make significant gains and improvement marked by its impressive development accomplishment, it is unfortunate to know that some former colonial power with nostalgic and acquisitive interest insist on playing the unwelcome role of colonial master by autoproclamation and that of a self-appointed caretaker determined to find solution for the internal problems of Equatorial Guinea. What problems? Our country was left largely undeveloped at the time of our independence. Since then, significant progress has been achieved. We recognize our current challenges concerning sustainable development in the country. These challenges, as I have previously stated, are being addressed by the government through the implementation of the program Horizon 2020 and is working tirelessly towards solving current problems and challenges. Therefore, I would like to seize this opportunity to state that Equatorial Guinea is and has been an independent republic and a sovereign country since her independence 12 October 1968 and is not a protectorate under the auspices of any country. We merely seek equal partnership. Nowadays, there are problems and challenges everywhere, and countries should concentrate solving their political, economic problems and not interfering in the internal affairs of others, ostensibly to help or solve manufacture problems, when in many instances, the real intention is one of destabilization in order to gain unfettered access to Africa's natural resources. Excellencies, colleagues, it is important to know that as many African nations mark 50 years of post-colonial independence, the continent has indeed come of age. What this means is, in practical terms, is that Africa, while welcoming partnership and international cooperation at the same time, she is determined to chart her own independent course consistent with her values and interests. As Africa continues to make significant progress in the political, social, and economic sphere, the continent demands an even greater role in the world stage. Africa welcomes partnership, but Africans must lead Africa development, and African solution must be applied to African problems. This leads me to the next phase in the continent's evolution, which I refer to as the new Africa paradigm. There are several important factors that underpin this new paradigm. First, it is important that Africa and its 54 countries be regarded as equal partners on the world stage. This equal partnership can begin to be realized by having Africa or its representatives participate more fully in the regional groups such as the G7. While at this time, countries in Africa do not equal the GDP of the existing members, it stands to reason, nonetheless, that because of war affairs are being discussed and formally or informally decided, Africa should have a seat at the table representing 1 billion people. Additionally, greater collaboration with the European Union and other regional grouping would be in the mutual interest of both parties. Second, this new paradigm shift means that Africa will be exerting its influence for a more fair and equitable benefit from its natural resources as seen in the earlier example of Botswana. For far too long, the African continent has been relegated to being the supplier of raw material to the rest of the world, with little or no value addition being done in the country. This is especially problematic in light of the fact that many African countries are grappling with very high unemployment rates, especially among the youth and women, a situation that could lead to social unrest in some countries. As such, Africa must capture greater value in the value chain of her minerals and agricultural products. Third, Africa seeks an even greater economic diversification. This means that while Africa extends the value it receives from her natural resources at the same time, there is a movement to increase diversification into other sectors for greater national and continental resilience, making the continent less susceptible to oil shock and volatility in the world commodity markets. From an agricultural perspective, the continent will look to move away from a monoculture, the cultivation of a single crop in given areas. This was historically done to supply industries in the West and usually at the expense of Africans. Fourth, Africa requires greater say in the management and governance of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. In the past, policies were simply imposed on the continent and in some cases without regard to the cultural and socio-economic impact, resulting in negative consequences. Although there has been some improvement in both institutions, Africa can still benefit from more consultation and in playing a greater role in the governance of both organizations. Finally, I wish to conclude by saying that since Africa is becoming an important driver of future global economic growth, since Africa is home to 1 billion of inhabitants and growing, since Africa is growing in its strategic importance to the rest of the world, it is time to validate Africa's growing importance. It is now time that Africa occupies permanent seats in the United Nations Security Council. Africa, with 54 members in the United Nations, is unfortunately the only continent without permanent seats in an organ where more than 70% of the agenda pertains to Africa. It is imperative that after 69 years since the founding of the United Nations, Africa be given this fundamental right in order to participate fully and effectively in the discussions and decisions for solution of its problems. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come and the time is now. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador Ndong. As I told you, Ambassador Ndong actually made it possible to go from the starting point to the, how do you call it, the finishing? Yeah, but I think he touched the most important stage of the development of the continent. He also responded to some of the paradox I was referring to when he made a clear reference to how we are doing in terms of a continent with very endowed in terms of natural resources, but with poor citizens. It means we have not done well. We have been sending all our raw materials abroad. So what we are What is required now is how to transform them in the continent in order to create jobs, in order to combat poverty, and to join the world world in a new fashion. But I think Ambassador Ndong has also started developing the future, which is the most important. Let's cry about the past, but let's not cry more than we should cry for the future. I think we have a responsibility of the legacy we are going to leave to the next generations.